On the first episode of the games of my childhood, I talked about Revolt. But if you thought that was going to be the only racing game in this series, I'm afraid you're sorely mistaken. I played so many freaking racing games as a kid that it's honestly surprising that I didn't become much more of a car guy growing up. But anyway, today we're talking about another one of these racing games, Rollcage. Developed by a British studio called Attention to Detail and published by Side Noses, Rollcage had a huge impact on my life, and much like a lot of the games that I played as a kid, it was all thanks to my brother's friends who would lend us CDs with games burned onto them. So what exactly is Rollcage? Basically, it's a very arcade-style racing game where you drive cars that have wheels that are larger than their bodies, and because the wheels are on the sides of the cars, they allow the car to be flipped over and to keep moving forward as if nothing had happened. This is the game's main claim to fame, and a lot of the tracks in the game are actually designed around this because you can actually drive on walls and ceilings, and then you can just fall back down, upside down or whatever, and you just keep going. All the tracks are actually designed to take advantage of this, and some of them are really cool. And as a kid, I just absolutely adored this concept. All the tracks are so much fun to play through, they looked great, and yeah, just this whole concept of like being able to flip the car over and keep going on the ceilings and falling back down, or going from wall to wall and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff in Rollcage. It's just so much fun to play as a kid. I also really enjoyed how a lot of the elements in the tracks could actually be destroyed. You'd have buildings with like support beams and stuff, and you could drive into those support beams to destroy them, or you could use items to destroy those support beams. And when you did that, the buildings would come crashing down, and the explosion could either hurt you if you're behind, if like the building fell in front of you, but what you would want to do is really make the buildings crash down behind you, so they would hurt the drivers coming behind you, and they could actually give you a boost with the explosion. They could push you forward a bit more, as long as you can like keep control of the car with that burst of speed, which can be challenging sometimes, but like it was really cool. And yes, the game does have an item system, sort of like Mario Kart, but in this case you can actually hold on to 2 items at a time, which at the time Mario Kart did not do. You could only get one, and it's only like in Double Dash that the double item thing was possible. But here you have 2 items at any given time if you want to. And they're also randomized, kind of like Mario Kart and all that. But yeah, you have 2 items and you can use them to attack opponents, you can use them to destroy parts of the scenery, and also to attack opponents in a way. But it is all really well balanced. Like, the game is really fast-paced with the items and the way you can use them on the environment or opponents, and it's a very fast game too. Like, there's a sense of speed in Rollcage that's really, really great. Like, and the fact that you can flip the car and keep going, like, it's just a very action-heavy game. Like, it always keeps you going. Like, it doesn't feel like it really slows down. Like, when you get twisted around and everything, you're still like frantically trying to move. So like, it's a really fun game. On top of all of that, another thing that I really liked about this game, which is actually maybe a little silly, is that it felt like it had a lot of personality. Like, each of the vehicles in the game is associated with a driver. And even though you never really see the drivers get in the cars or anything like that, they have cutscenes like when you win a cup or lose a cup or something, and you can see the driver that you were playing as in that cutscene, and they kind of interact with the other drivers sometimes. And like, I feel like that sort of put a bigger stake on everything. Like, it felt like you were developing a connection with the driver that you chose. And I don't know, I kind of like that about this game, even though it's like a very superficial thing. There isn't a lot to it, but I really like that sense of personality that it brought to the game. But at the end of the day, what mattered is that the game was really, really fun. Like, the sense of speed in Rollcage is fantastic. Like, from the very beginning, the races feel really frantic. Like, it's fast, but you're always in control. Most of the time, it doesn't really feel like you have to try too hard to be in control until you hit something, and then it's a big mess because the traction of the car is actually not that great. So you have to try a little bit to get moving again. But like, you're always frenetically trying to keep going because the game is so fast-paced, and you have the items and the destructible environments and everything. Like, it's such a well put together game, in my opinion. It was so much fun. So I really did love Rollcage. So much so that years later, when I wanted to revisit Rollcage, I actually looked into it, and I learned that there was a sequel called Rollcage Stage 2. And I don't have the same nostalgic affection for this one specifically, but looking at it now, it's very obvious that they were looking to make everything about Rollcage just even bigger and better. There's way more cars, more tracks, there's new gameplay mechanics, like at the end of a league now in the campaign mode, you actually have a knockout race where you have to finish first in every lap to knock out the other opponents. And there's also a new racing mechanic where instead of just racing to finish in first place, they call it total racing, where in addition to your position in the race, how you use your items actually matters too. You get points from using your items to attack opponents, and that actually counts towards your final ranking. So you have a little more to consider. I don't really like this mechanic very much, but thankfully, even if you're playing the campaign, you can actually always choose which race mode you prefer, just classic racing or this new total racing mode, so that's fine. I will say that a lot of the new racetracks in Rollcage Stage 2 don't feel as inspired as the first games. Like, I don't know, the first game I thought the tracks had a little more personality and interesting set pieces to them. A lot of the tracks in Rollcage 2 feel a little bit more boring, but there are also some really good ones in there. So like, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but overall there's still a lot of good stuff. And also, while it was totally superficial, I do miss how you had the drivers in the first Rollcage game. In Rollcage Stage 2, it really is just cars. There's way more cars, but there's no driver that you can really associate with. There's no cutscenes that show the driver after you win a league or anything like that. So it really takes a bit of the personality away from the campaign mode with the drivers and everything. I kind of miss that a bit in Stage 2. And gameplay wise, I also think the sense of speed from the first game is lost a little bit in Stage 2. Especially in the beginning, you have very slow cars that don't go as fast. So before you unlock the faster cars, it feels a little bit more boring. And even weirder, the first cars you have don't even have access to all the attack items right out the gate. You have to unlock new cars that do have access to all the attack items. And like, they wanted to create a sense of progression, but I don't think it really works well for doing it this way. I don't think it's great. Still, we got new cars, new tracks, new mechanics combined with the old ones. So like, this is still a very fun game to play. It's still very good. I think maybe the nostalgia also makes me prefer the first one a little bit, but there's a lot to like about Rollcage Stage 2. And the great thing is, these days you can play both of these games very easily for free because they've been sort of abandoned. You can download them for free easily on the internet. And while there's only a Windows version, I actually play them on Linux. That's where all this footage comes from. And it works totally fine, aside from the target for the missile items. It does not align at all with the actual target that you're aiming at, so what you're going to hit is a little bit it's anyone's guess if you play, at least if you're playing on Linux, but the game otherwise is totally playable. Though the cutscenes that I was talking about with the drivers in Rollcage 1, they look like this on Linux. I think the video files are playing at the original resolution, so even though my display is way bigger, they just show up like this. That's cool. Now, unfortunately, the developers of this game, attention to detail, went bankrupt in 2003. Though in 2002, they actually partnered with Sony to make a PlayStation exclusive game called Firebugs, which was pretty much inspired by Rollcage, a little bit different, but very, very similar in spirit. But the thing is, it was a PlayStation 1 game releasing in 2002, so 2 years after the PlayStation 2 was out, and it only released in Europe as a result. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is why they went bankrupt, because this whole strategy seems like it would not succeed at all. But yes, unfortunately, that was the end for these developers. But there is a silver lining. When I looked up Rollcage at that time when I found out Rollcage Stage 2, I actually remember hearing about a fan project called Rollcage X or Stage X, which later got renamed to Recaged. And that was supposed to be like a sort of revival project for Rollcage as a concept. And they had a few builds, though around 2011 that also died. But that may have been because in 2015 something amazing happened. A team of developers called Caged Element launched a Kickstarter campaign for a game called Grip Combat Racing. And in 2018, that game finally released on all modern platforms. including the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. In fact, it released on my birthday that year. That was all the sweeter. Grip is a true spiritual successor to Rollcage, and it's got everything I loved about the original games. The flippable cars, the high speeds, and the attack items. Like, everything is here, except it was all upgraded to be totally modern at the time, with modern graphics and way more customization. You got like every car, you can just choose paint jobs and decals and everything. It is way more customizable. And it was fantastic. And actually, at the time, I got extra lucky because on top of the game releasing on my birthday, I was working for a website called Neowin at the time. And the team at Wired Productions who published this game, they actually reached out to me with review codes for whatever version I wanted, I believe. And at the time I did the Nintendo Switch. I actually wrote a review on this game for that website. And that was super exciting for me. Like, I really enjoyed doing that and having that opportunity. Now, I didn't stick with this game very long after that review though, because I think, the Nintendo Switch version was the worst of the bunch, obviously. The graphics weren't as good, the performance was a little bit middling. I think most importantly for me, the split-screen multiplayer that was 4 players on other platforms only supported 2 players on the Switch version. So like, if I wanted to play this game at parties with my friends, I would have to exclude like half of my group every time because only 2 of us could play at any given time, and that sucked a little bit. And then for online multiplayer, the game had no cross-platform support, so if I wanted to play on the Switch, I could only play with Switch players. And I don't think a lot of people bought this game on Switch, probably because of the limitations I already mentioned. Like, I could never find any online rooms for this game. So yeah, after I finished the campaigns, I kind of fell off of the game a bit. I also do feel a little bit like they added almost too much to this game. Like, there's so much customization stuff now, and you can choose from so many cars when you start. It almost feels like there's so much you need to do just to get started, compared to the very straightforward UI of the original Rollcage game. I know that's just modern gaming, and having more content in this way is not a bad thing. I just do kind of miss that simplicity of just go, pick a car, and you can just start racing. Still, I revisited this game a little bit to make this video, and I was playing it for a while, and I almost forgot how much fun it is. Like, it really is fantastic. Like, the sense of speed in this game is great. Everything feels really good about this game. Like, I played it on the Switch too now, so maybe the performance is a little bit better because of that. But like, everything feels really nice in this game. The speed is fantastic. All the items work. Like, the items are fun to use. The UI is really polished, and like, everything here like really contributes to the sense of speed and the edge that I love this game to have. It really is. I feel like it's a better successor to the original Rollcage than Rollcage Stage 2 was. Like, having this feeling, the feel of Rollcage modernized so much is actually super fun. I really enjoy playing these races again on the Switch too. It's really cool. And that, in a way, that kind of made me sad because I haven't heard anything about this series ever since, 2018, 2019, shortly after the game came out. I kind of thought, and I was worried that the series was dead. But then I went on the Steam page for Grip Combat Racing, and I learned that actually just last month, they announced a sequel called Grip XR. And now, as of a couple of weeks ago, there's the first teaser trailer for it, and it actually looks really good. I mean, look at this. So I mean, yeah, that's not much to go on right now, but apparently they're planning to launch a Kickstarter campaign this month, April, and there's gonna be a playable demo for the game, and they've already revealed a couple of details about it. Like, there's gonna be a new game mechanic called Crank, which I don't really know what that means, but I'm curious to see. And they're expanding something from the original Grip called Carcore mode. This is a mode where you had very twisty, weird tracks. It kind of reminded me of Trackmania, if you've ever heard of that. It's a very fun-looking racing game as well. Carcore kind of reminded me of that. So they're expanding upon it with something called Playground, which sounds really exciting, because another thing they've mentioned is that there's going to be a level editor and with a course creator. So if you can make your custom tracks for parkour. I feel like there's gonna be so much fun stuff you can do with this. That was something that I thought was really missing with the original Grip. So I feel like there's a lot of potential here for this to be a super fun game. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. You can definitely expect me to take a look at this demo, and I'll probably make another video just about Grip XR because I really hope it's fantastic and as good as it looks. But yeah, I'm just really happy to see this game that I grew up with get all this love now. You know, it's kind of like what I said with Revolt and how it was maintained by the RVGL project. It's just great when you have these memories attached to something from your childhood. And you know, your criteria as a child, it's not always great. Like they're not the highest standards. So it's great when you become an adult and you look back and you look into this stuff. And these games are actually, you know, there's a lot of people that are passionate about this kind of game. You know, someone thought it was worth to revive this whole idea of Rollcage and make it into a new game that just looks fantastic. And that game was successful enough to warrant a sequel, you know, like that's like really, really cool. So I'm really excited about Grip XR. I really hope it's as great as it looks. And yeah, you know, that's all for today. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.